Okay.
Okay.
Hi everybody. Welcome. It's been a while and this is kind of out of the middle of nowhere, but it was time to do another episode. And I am here today with my dear friend Doc Mannix.
Hey, everybody.
Doc, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, I'm Doc Mannix. I am a occultnik and professional weirdo, or semi-professional weirdo, and I'm here to talk about how the Satanic Temple taught me to believe in conspiracy theories.
I'm so excited. Oh my
I
God, I'm so happy we're talking about this on the first day of the papal enclave.
Conclave, yes. What better time to talk about conspiracy theories and Satanism?
Indeed, indeed, and I believe you were just mentioning that Felon 47 is planning to go to a showing of Les Miserables at the Kennedy Center. I
Irony
just
is
want the word
dead.
irony to catch fire in the dictionary. That's all.
Irony is dead, and we killed it.
Yeah. Oh boy, we beat that thing to death.
Oh, wow. Like it was capitalism.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
that's nuts. That's nuts.
so do you have,
What kind of stuff do you do? Because
okay.
both of us are fairly occulty.
Yeah, I will clarify that I self-identify as an occult nick as opposed to an occultist because
Mm,
I'm not a member of any esoteric fraternities. I don't do much ceremonial magic. I'm kind of your basic kitchen witch at the end of the day. But as an autistic person, my special interest is all of that shit.
right.
Like,
Heard. I am actively a member of several traditions and work with a variety of things at really kind of nosebleedy levels.
yeah,
So between the two of us, we have a very interesting vibe.
right, exactly. When during the Bush administration, when they started with their like this Christian nation bullshit,
Yeah, grr, grr. Yeah.
I looked at what they were pawning off as Christianity and went, well, if y'all are the Christians, I must be a Satanist. I don't have any choice. And that sort of got me into this realm of ironic Satanism that
Yeah.
developed into a more uh, earnest religious sort of Christian Gnostic bent on, demiurge, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and sort of going, yeah, it does seem like if there is a real deity in charge of this existence we're in, it is not the good and benevolent one.
Yeah.
It's one with a rather malicious sense of humor.
Mm.
And
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people have come to that understanding. Did you ever see the movie God on Trial?
I don't think I did.
There was a spectacular the Jews in Auschwitz are
Uh,
debating
yes, I'm
God.
familiar with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and the it was he was never our God. He was
Right.
only on our side.
Right.
It like boiled down to it. So yeah.
Yeah. And when Pizzagate jumped off,
Oh, fuck.
that's my neighborhood.
Yeah.
My liquor store is on that block.
Yeah.
And when I was much younger, I worked at Politics and Prose for a while. Like I know the area. I used to go eat at the Thai room before it became Comic Ping Pong. So I have a intimate familiarity with the neighborhood and was very aware of just how absurd the the whole premise of the Pizzagate conspiracy theory actually was. We live
Yeah.
in a city filled with secret vaults and, you know, well guarded sacred architecture that if you wanted to do that kind of like evil, dark ritual shit, you could definitely do it in places where no one would know.
Oh yeah.
No one would
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
if Hillary Clinton was drinking the brains out of babies in the vault under the Washington Monument.
Well, actually, what it is it's Hillary Clinton quantum jumped to a separate dimension where she got addicted to human brains, but they had to be the brains of infants.
Like you do.
So,
And
and
I'm not
and for
judging.
some reason, these aliens had pizza in
Yeah.
the quantum realm. So she came back and she was like, "What do I do? Pizza brains."
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to the conspiracy theory side of it, I picked up very quickly that what it was there's a very finite number of hip bars in in this part of town where all
Mhm.
the rich people live.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Trumpistos wanted to shut down Comet Ping Pong so that they could take it over instead of having it function as a hub for the resistance, which is what it wound up doing. And in the long run, I think they actually really helped them take on that mantle by spreading this
Mm.
conspiracy theory. But my initial reaction when it went off was I need to get my ass into some community.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the only one in the neighborhood that's at the center of this shit show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I started looking around and I was never going to join the Church of Satan because that's a fucking joke. I mean, like, we could do 2 hours on what absolute embarrassment the Church of Satan is. But the the Satanic Temple had a pretty good public face at that time, and they had I liked their tenants, and they were free to join.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to write an essay and pay a $200 fee so that Pappy Gilmore could decide whether I was a Satanist enough to be part of his little club. Uh,
Mm.
and that was enough for me. And the very short version was that in doing so, I stepped into a power vacuum.
Mm.
There was not a local chapter that I could join.
Mm-hmm.
And through their Facebook group, I gradually got to know enough people. And having determined that we didn't have a local chapter, I began the work of starting one. I started organizing. We used to meet down at the Big Hunt back when that place was still a place.
Okay. Oh,
Um,
the big hunt. Oh my
I
God.
know it's such
Holy
a
shit.
bummer. Like we that was where we had our first meeting. There
Okay.
were three of us,
Mm-hmm.
and we built gradually from there. Had another meeting in Rockville. Like bit by bit, we got a little community together.
Yeah.
Still going. I won't say it's going strong, but it is still going. Um,
It's really sad
it is
that
sad, but
community efforts don't remain consistent because that's why we keep coming back here.
well,
That's
and
why we keep
also
coming back to fascism.
right. Well, and also there was a there was a logistic problem that there aren't that many cool people in DC.
Uh,
So
I would
we
say I would say there are probably not many people who are understanding of life at a deeper level in
yeah. Okay.
DC.
So
Authenticity is cool as fuck.
well, yes, and authenticity is something that we don't do.
And you don't pose authenticity. It's like what was the hardest part is being false at sincerity, but once you got that beat, you got everything beat.
Right.
Authenticity is literally something that you can't fake.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and the more I think the more authentic you get in your expression, the more you start seeing the masks that have or the templates that have been put as a mask over your understanding
Mhm.
that explains why we need religion
Yeah.
or why
Well,
we need money,
yeah.
you know?
Religion comes from the Latin ligatus. It's the same root word as ligatures.
Oh,
Binds us
yeah,
together. I
the
got that from Alan
strangulation.
Moore. I can't take credit for being that smart, but
Wow.
it's what binds us into community. Like, you know, what do we do when someone dies? How do we grieve them collectively? Things like that. What do we do when someone gets married? What do we do when someone gets born? Like, these are the life events that we use religion to form community around these so that we don't have to do them in alienation.
Well,
No.
the tribal cultures that Christianity like shit on, tore apart, and destroyed had those places. They
Well,
actively they celebrated a woman's menarche. They
right,
celebrated a boy becoming a man, and
right.
there was definitely a point where you were able to act like a total bad person,
Mhm.
and then you knew better because you had become a man and now you have to conduct yourself like an actual adult and have empathy and understanding for other people. But I think because we no longer have a delineation for that, it gets lost.
Oh, yeah.
Like in middle school, there's a whole bunch of people who just don't bother evolving emotionally.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Sorry, I could go on about that for days.
Oh, yeah. So the geographic disbursement of our members,
Yeah.
yeah, was made it hard to like build like because like New York City had a huge chapter because everyone's in the city.
Well,
Um, and
yeah, there's also problems with cities as well,
oh yeah,
spiritually speaking. But yeah,
just in terms of like we had a contingent in Baltimore, we had people in Richmond, we had people out in Leesburg,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was all over the place. And so it was a relatively small group of geographically dispersed people, but we were pretty good at organizing, and um, we put together a few actions. We helped people stay safe.
Awesome.
Counter protesting the Unite the Right rally. I was at home running a control center or a communication center,
Yeah.
making sure that everyone was coordinated and was getting information about, there was a little bit of rioting that day, not much, but we kept our people safe,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Um, but we were interested in becoming a chapter, and we were working on that. But unlike a lot of other uh, communities elsewhere in the country where um, people were quite gung ho and made a lot more progress a lot more quickly. We didn't have, I don't want to say we didn't have any because I think we did have a couple, but we didn't have anyone who was a member of the bar.
Mm.
But we had a whole bunch of people who were legally informed, who had like legal background, who, you know, parents were lawyers or siblings were lawyers or their job was working in tandem with lawyers, so we had a lot of legal sense.
Yeah.
And as the I always use the title secretary because I didn't like putting myself in a position of leadership.
Hmm.
um but as the secretary I had a responsibility to perform due diligence
Hmm.
and make sure that as we were affiliating with this national organization, everything was on the up and up.
Hmm.
And there was like, if you're not familiar with TST, they have they have had a long history of like infighting and drama, which is something that you get with Satanists because it's like herding cats. Um, but
Anybody that is so attached to a belief that they will literally commit violence for it is not really a safe person to be around.
that's absolutely true. And that's a whole other aspect of Satanism that I'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah.
But like with these atheistic Satanists, there was a lot of infighting over, whether or not we should even be in solidarity with people who like are theistic,
Mm,
things like that.
yeah.
Uh,
Because if one exists, the other has to. Yeah.
Well, and like the whole like no true Scotsman fallacy around whether or not, if you're not in the Church of Satan, you're not a real Satanist. If you're not an atheist, you're not a real Satanist. If you're not a theistic Satanist, you're not a real Satanist. If you're
So
not Satan,
those are all like cult statements.
they are. They absolutely are. And you know, there's all like satanic cults are real. This is the
Oh
premise.
yeah.
I
But there,
like
I don't think that there was a fantastic video. I got to share it with you.
yeah.
This girl had broken down the very beginning, how we got from the satanic panic to DEI. And she came with receipts. It was like
Oh,
an hour long and she knocked it out of the park. But I mean,
I've
it's
seen that.
everything comes down to, yeah, could we just get rid of all the brown and the black people and people who don't believe what we do and the women who won't fuck us? Can we just get rid of them and then we can have the perfect country? The problem with that is the people left then eat themselves because they
The
have to
people
find
left
something
are the ones who
else.
don't want to do any of the labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
You
like,
know, I'm sorry. I keep pulling you off course.
so the like I viewed it as a personal responsibility and a fiduciary responsibility, even though not actual fiduciary.
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, but that like if I'm going to assume this role as like secretary authority figure within this like hierarchical anti-authoritarian organization,
Hmm.
um, I have to do certain work.
Hmm.
So, you know, what the fuck is his bullshit ass name? I've been calling him by his dead name for so long that I forget. Lucian Greaves
Mm.
claimed to be a Harvard grad.
Fucking Harvard, man.
I know all the scammers claim to have a degree from Harvard. Uh, but so Doug's saying he's a Harvard grad. I see absolutely no Harvard in his affect or his speed or his or what he has to say. So I'm really like I'm digging into it. I'm going, I want to see I want to see if I can get my hands on this guy's transcripts. I want to see if Harvard has him on any of their alumni lists. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people, I have access. And I couldn't find shit.
Wow.
It turns out he went to Harvard Extension School, which is kind of like their community college.
Interesting. I mean,
Anyone anyone can go to Harvard Extension School.
yeah, but I mean,
It's
if you don't
effectively a community
clarify,
college.
that's a sin of omission, man.
It is a synonym of omission, but technically, once you graduate from one of their programs, and you can just take like a 6 week course,
That's
and
why everybody says they're from Harvard.
you
Okay.
can put a Harvard, and you can put Harvard on your resume. But so it started getting red flags
Yeah, yeah.
around Doug uh and his like claiming to have these like Harvard psych qualifications that were not manifest in his speech, his attitude toward mental illness, his
Mhm.
attitude toward mental health.
Yeah.
Um, and 2018, there was a whole blow up over a number of small things that had happened in the organization, like Some of it was personality conflicts, some of it was fucked up things, like
Mm,
members being sexually assaulted by
missing
leadership
stairs.
and
Oh,
then kicked out for reporting the sexual assault.
just
Uh,
like churches. Oh,
yeah,
way to
just like
go,
churches,
Satanic
just
Temple.
like churches,
Fuck.
just like fucking churches. And that happened in Dallas. Then, for some stupid case they were doing, they hired Mark Rindazza,
Okay.
a a right-wing white supremacist piece of shit Nazi dude. Sue me, Mark, sue me. Like, I'm sure he's watching. So they hired this
Yeah.
fucking lawyer, and they were like, "Well, he's doing it pro bono, and you can't, beggars can't be choosers." And it's like, I don't know. I feel like uh, taking a hard stance against fascism while fighting the Trump administration isn't like a big ask. Uh,
Right? Come
like,
on, man.
like choosing a lawyer who has represented the enemy seems kind of lame. But
Oof.
there was a huge LA, which was one of their biggest chapters, bounced. And this is the origins of what's colloquially known now as the queer satanic suit,
Okay.
where um, the leaders of a chapter in the Pacific Northwest um, wanted to break off from the national organization. And long story short, they got sued
Hmm.
by the national organization. TST, for 5 fucking years, TST lost that suit
Hmm.
decisively. Multiple appeals until finally the judges looked at it and were just like, no, we're issuing these rulings with prejudice so that you
Mm.
can't appeal them because your lawyers are an embarrassment.
Mm.
It's just true. I've read the documents. Like the
Mm.
filings are slovenly. These people are definitely working for the Trump administration now because they're
Well,
terrible.
it it's not surprising. I mean, uh, mediocre white people tend to fail upwards instead of
Hmm.
actually remaining curious and learning about the world, about themselves. I mean, at some point, it's like somebody goes, "Oh, I've learned enough. I can now tell people what to do." I'm like, that's not
That's not how
what
it works.
being a human is. That's what being a manager is, right? Read a
Right.
fucking book and go to therapy. Come on. Like, at least have one or two people you can talk to who will keep you from becoming a literal fucking cult leader.
Yeah. And I had personal connections to people who were kicked out, um, where I saw what happened to them and went, no, this is cult shit.
Yeah,
Like this is
yeah.
abusive cult shit. So our group like disaffiliated ourselves in 2018
Hmm.
because of all of the bullshit that I particularly was witnessing. Some of the other people in our leadership circle were witnessing too.
Hmm.
Um, and we weren't all that concerned about losing members who weren't willing. Like we were perfectly willing to present receipts.
Yeah.
People who are like, "You've just got an axe to grind." It's like, so, like, like,
If that
sometimes
axe to
you have to
grind is
grind your axe.
abuse inside the community, then I'm fucking grinding it.
Right, exactly. Like there's abuse in the community. People there's people with there's like very little transparency, and these motherfuckers are asking us to kick all of the money we raise up to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's maybe it's a like a spiritual version of a pyramid scheme
yeah, yeah,
as
totally.
well. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a lot of religions are all about making that cheddar for Holy Father.
yeah, and
And
it's very
then the pimp, like Joel Osteen is a pimp,
mm-hmm,
and his
Bible
congregation
camp.
are the people that go out and proselytize so he can have more revenue.
Right,
That's it. That's all the church is. It's a revenue stream.
right,
CEO Jesus sucks.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Like you. you can't, like, the prosperity gospel is blasphemy.
Oh my God, it's so gross.
It's heretical. And I say that as a Satanist, as someone who is very into blasphemy.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's the things that are actually blasphemous are literally everything that the Trump administration is doing.
Oh my God, yes, the fucking AI Trump Pope. Like it, like, which is like,
If God existed, I would have thought that that would have been a lightning bolt moment, right? But since we are all God, we are all part of the infinite, we're all part of source. Of course, he's not going to get struck down because this is part of mankind's evolution. We are sloughing off a
yes,
way of perceiving and a way of being in the world.
yes. And also, like, uh there's just there's a there's just a lack of goodness in the human character,
Well,
which
I think it's a lack. I think it's a lack of empathy, and
yeah.
I think the biggest prompter of that is ensuring that you have a class of human beings that live in the worst possible conditions so
Mhm.
that you can terrorize, I mean, softball terrorize the rest of your populace to behave a certain way, or, oh, you're going to go live in the salt mines with those people.
Oh, right. Well, like I don't know anyone who I would consider to be comfortably within the bourgeoisie who would not quit their job to go fishing for the rest of their lives,
Oh,
not literally,
yeah.
if not for the fear of homelessness.
Well, there. Uh,
Like, if
so
they didn't have a
I hate
mortgage
that
to
I.
pay, if they didn't have children to support, if they didn't have all of these material obligations,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be doing the bougie shit they're doing. They'd be, you know, they'd be decoupaging porno magazines onto lamps or something.
Well, I think the biggest problem is that you have a narrative of what a life is supposed to be in this country and at this time. And that
Right.
narrative changes from generation to generation, and it has usually taken 100 years. It's taking like a year, if
Okay.
not more, or if not less. I mean, and this is it's hard to say whether it's because of AI, whether there's some weird quantum skip that's making time wonky, or the entire planet has access to the same information for the first time in this world's history.
And the
We have
same disinformation.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's the people are having conversations that I would never have thought of having 20 years ago, 30 years ago at the level I'm having now.
Yeah.
And I think that I think that it's a synchronicity where people are really quickly starting to understand how effective human beings are at distracting each other with
Yeah.
things that are outside of ourselves: movies, TV, drama, cop
Yep.
shows, work, like all of this stuff that's supposed to keep us busy, when our job as human beings is to, like, who are we, why are we here,
Right.
you know
And this gets into, like, the whole conspiracy theory tie-in,
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
once I went through the, like, internal politics of TST as an org and figuring out whether or not they were a safe organized organization for us to be working with,
Yeah.
um, or even an effective organization, because they could have been perfectly safe and useless. I mean,
Unfortunately, that sometimes happens.
yeah, and that would have still impacted our willingness or ability to, like, fundraise for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and because, like, why do you want to put in all of that labor to raise money for a lawsuit that's going to get kicked out of court
Over and over and over,
over and over and over
you
again
know.
because you can't hire good lawyers?
Or are
Like,
you just lying to your members about how much you're paying the lawyer and you're pocketing the rest?
oh, well, I didn't say it.
But I mean,
But
that was kind of
you've got very good intuition, John. That's very good intuition you got.
wait. Okay, I'm getting a no.
So the effect of that was for me to really question a lot of the narratives that were being uh, programmatically disseminated through the broader community about like the satanic panic.
Yeah.
And, what I found was that, you know, I wrote a book. It's a short book, but it is a book, like a book length essay, I guess,
Hmm.
that is actually an ongoing project, but I had to burn out because it was really affecting my mental health in bad ways,
Oof.
called The Occult Crime Watch.
Mm.
Occult Crime Watch was this project where I was just going through and like looking at cases where there was like concrete verifiable evidence of a crime which was committed with occult motives by an organized group.
Yeah.
Sometimes just an individual, like Pazuzu Algarad down in North Carolina.
Okay.
Like that guy, you can say a lot of things about his poor mental health and his whether or not he was a lone actor or a cult leader, but the level on which he was able to operate for as long as he was operating without getting put into a psychiatric hospital or jail leads me to believe that he was getting support from people who were far more powerful than he was.
I think that truly charismatic people
Hmm.
are able to figure out exactly what people need to hear, and then they have an effective way to say it.
Yeah,
And when you have somebody who has empathy, that's a wonderful skill. You
yeah,
can figure out if somebody's hurting, if you could, may try to help them. If you don't have empathy or you have low empathy, that turns into predator behavior
yeah,
because
yeah,
then you think you're Superman. You're like, these people are so stupid. And I'm like, that's by design, motherfucker. Like, you're creating a pool of vegetarians for meat eaters to feast on in human beings,
yes,
emotionally speaking. You're
yes.
creating a class of people that doesn't know themselves. So they have no way of effectively knowing whether somebody is lying to them or abusing them.
Hmm.
And when people do that to one another and they tell someone else, what the rest of the community does is goes, that guy's real smart. And
Hmm.
he's also really funny. And I just like the way I feel when I'm around him.
Right.
So I'm sorry he raped you, but I'm going to still be friends with him. And
Yes.
that's how that weird primal logic goes.
Well,
And
and like, the trauma of being assaulted makes people act crazy. And once
oh
you have
my God,
a
yes.
traumatized person acting crazy, you can go, well, I mean, she says everyone raped her.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
if she says that, then I'm like, who's protecting her?
right, right,
Who
right, right,
has anybody ever made sure that she's safe, that she feels safe?
right, right, right,
Instead of just assuming that all women are lying bitches because they want to make us feel shitty about being men.
right,
No, we choose the bear because you rape and kill us.
right. And
Like,
we
shit.
really like we don't need women to make us feel shitty. Like like we have
Right? Your entire like patriarchy has that covered.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Here we are laughing about rape. This is a great conversation already.
Holy shit. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand why it's so I do understand and I don't. Why it's so important that men convince themselves that women never get raped, even though There are statistically speaking, 1 in 5 women is raped in their lifetime, and it's usually before they hit legal
Yeah,
age.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know?
I don't get it either because this is something I've been processing for literally decades. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
that like, why wouldn't you believe it? Like, why wouldn't you believe it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I can sort of understand like if it's something that you're incapable of, and there are a lot of men who just can't, would never. Like,
I fell prey to this once. A friend of mine shared with me that a mutual friend had raped her, and the first thing out of my mouth was, "Were you sure it was rape?" And then I went, "I'm so sorry."
well, also
That just let me address that. There in no way was that right for me to say. And I'm
something
so sorry that happened.
like one of the more insidious things that propaganda has done to our minds is we we our mental vision is this thing that like Vikings and like masked men in alleys and crackheads.
Oh yeah, it's like Hobbes. As I speak with my partner more about philosophy, I'm starting to understand Hobbes
Hobbes
a
is
little more. But that's not Hobbesian, which I used to think it was, is that man is just an animal and there's no way for him to change, then you should be shot in the head. Like if you can't stop raping people, there should be programs in place that try to address that in a way where you can actually reach the person who is committing the crime and provide a space for them to understand what they've done is wrong on a deep level. And if
yeah,
they're not able to understand that, what do we do with them as a society? What do we put them on an island? Do we shoot them?
yeah.
Do we put them in an all women's prison and give them grapefruit spoons? I mean, what do we do with them? Because you have a whole bunch of people who are just predating motherfuckers and they don't want to stop because making people feel like shit and terrorizing them is what gives them a happy.
Well, and this has always been like one of my main grievances with the Church of Satan and LaVeyan Satanism
Oh
is,
God, LaVey. My mom met him once, said he was creepy as fuck.
oh, I believe that.
Shocker.
Something I was really annoyed about was that his daughter Xena gave an interview to Jordan fucking Peterson of all people
How long ago?
just last year.
Okay,
It's a
because
really good interview,
in the
but
beginning, Jordan
it's
wasn't
a
so bad
Daily
be doing
Wire
crazy.
property.
Okay.
So like I was gonna write all about it, and then I was like, I'm not gonna write a review for the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna have my audience of 5 people
Yeah,
go check
right.
out the Daily Wire and give them news. But
Yeah.
she talked about how her father was a very abusive and
Oof.
predatory man. She talked about how when she was underage and still living in the Black House, she was dating a cop.
Wow. Yeah.
A cop.
Well, I mean, it's like,
I mean, that's not surprising to anyone who like knows about cops, but
yeah, if you're
the,
in your ACAB mind, the cop
yeah,
is like I would not be surprised if he was getting paid by the Satanic Church to look the other way or by every other organization that secretly abuses children.
he was a member.
Yeah.
He was a member.
Yeah.
The and like that also just speaks to the like right-wing fasci orientation of the Church of Satan that they're like, oh yeah, we totally have cops who are members and we let them date our daughters.
That's
You know, like that sounds healthy. Um and
yeah.
I could do an hour on Stinky Tony. But the the there's these narratives that the Satanic Temple as a community like I remember once in their Facebook group before it became defunct, I uh, posted I made a post which was totally trolling, I
Hmm.
admit. But it was like, what are some of the taboos in Satanism? And of course, there's all the idiots going, there ain't no taboos in Satanism. It's like, okay, honey, like, but
So vivisection? Yeah, okay. It's what?
well,
How far do
there's
you
that,
take it?
but
Yeah.
there's that, but it's also like, actually, there's quite a few taboos. Like, we're not allowed to talk about,
Fight Club?
Fight Club. We're not allowed, like, we don't tolerate like questioning the credentials of our leader.
Just like the church. Way to go,
Yeah, exactly.
Temple of Satan.
Um, there's a there is a an organization that I'm not going to mention by name that we don't talk about.
Mhm.
You know, they're really big on angles.
Mm.
Um, and that organization, which is as old or older, founded in England,
Hmm.
uh, claiming to be an amalgamation of multiple black magic covens.
Hmm.
Um, they are the Satanists that the Satanic Panic warned us about.
Oof.
And the temple had this attitude that we do not talk about them. If we talk about them, we do not take them seriously. So we can mock them. We can speak derisively about how, well, they're theistic Satanists. They're just LARPers. They live in their mom's basements.
They're
And
just murderers who call themselves Satanists.
well, that's the thing, is like, when you get in, if you get
Wow.
into their literature, if you just read the fucking Wikipedia page about them,
Yeah.
like, they have like they have these concepts. They have a concept called insight actors,
Mm.
which is not in SIGHT, but INCITE.
Ah.
Their job, their function, once they like get through the process of initiation, so that they're like trusted enough within the cult, um, is to join the army or the police or become a minister and start a church.
Are they white supremacists?
Oh, of course.
Oh
Although
my God.
that's a really,
Again, shocker.
yeah, I mean, that's a really funny one, because
Shit.
it's it's a kind of like anti-cosmic Satanism, where white supremacy is a is a tool that they will apply for recruitment purposes, and at the same time, philosophically, like, they're also the largest, like internationally.
Mm.
They have a lot of members in Africa and India, and like places where there aren't enough white people for anyone to be a white supremacist.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
that didn't stop missionaries from going to Africa to
well,
try to
yeah, but
convince.
like, in a like,
Uh,
it's hard to recruit black people into white supremacism.
it is, but it's very easy to recruit black people into anti-LGBTQ bullshit.
Right, and
Yeah.
anti-woke bullshit and
Not
anti-liberalism.
not black people in general. I'm referring
I
to
know what
the
you mean.
missionaries that went
Yeah.
to Africa with the express purpose
Oh yeah.
of, teaching Africans that LGBTQI people need to be killed.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Zimbabwe.
yeah.
All fine.
I just wanted to clarify.
No, no, no. That's fair. That's totally fair. You want to
Yeah.
clarify
The,
that.
the irony of everything
Yeah. Well, and
is that
also
human
just like,
beings we've been on this planet for 300,000 fucking years. Christianity is 1,000 years old.
I mean, we've
Well,
only
2,000 now. I mean,
yeah,
and,
but I
and
mean, we've only been human for 10,000 years.
I think there are sites that have been excavated that are showing dates of 30,000.
Well, okay, so
Like
like what
the
is it?
idea of worshiping anything or anything outside of yourself to keep you safe,
Yeah.
I think probably started maybe 30,000 years ago.
Oh yeah, well it's like Neanderthals had religion. It's a safe assumption that Denisovans, because they were able to crossbreed with humans, probably had religion too.
Yeah.
Um,
But this
those
kind
are
of,
just the ones we know about. Let's not creep over into Bigfoot.
yeah, but I mean, I
Different
think
topic. I can come back another day to do Bigfoot
oh
shit.
shit, right? Oh my
But
God, yay, cryptids. I think the focus
yeah.
of anybody who says this is the way it's always been,
Hmm.
they're lying.
Well, it's
They
just a
they
dangerous
are they
mistake.
they are they have not gone out of their way to educate themselves. They've
Hmm.
not gone out of their way to better themselves as a human being, and they're probably not safe to be around.
Probably not.
If
Yeah.
they talk about slavery and rape, this is the way it's always been, not necessarily,
No.
you
Not
know?
necessarily. And let's be clear that like there used to be like consequences for that shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
um, but the the things I was finding doing the Occult Crime Watch project
Yeah.
and doing my own research into different cults made me realize that there are these things. They do exist. And when organizations like the Satanic Temple try to tell the public that these are just like Delulu fantasies promoted by evangelical Christians to sow fear and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not that that's not true,
Yeah.
but it's not the whole truth. It's a very incomplete picture of the truth that doesn't acknowledge that they're like the very idea that you could have whole like police departments that are being run by members of a anti-cosmic, anti-humanist
Hmm.
satanic cult,
Yeah.
which is like that is like
But I mean, we're seeing that play out with ICE agents all over the country. These are
oh
people who have been who have basically been red pilled like a motherfucker, and they're more than happy to play cop and terrorize brown people.
yes, well, and the red pill black pill
Uh,
gate pipeline
yeah.
is very consistent with the theology and ideology
Mm,
of the Numinous path.
yeah, yeah.
And uh and they're not discreet. They leave their calling cards, and it's just that most people aren't in the know. And one of my personal like big time like beefs with the way that the Satanic Temple was and is operating
Yeah.
is like not educating people about the existence of these organizations or the very real danger that they pose more to us than anyone else. Because like, liberal humanists who happen to align with Satanism as a like political response to evangelical Christianity are their favorite target.
Yeah. And
You know?
and it's that whole thing. There are a few really awful people, and
Mhm.
because the community refuses to police itself when it comes to those awful people get hurt.
Yeah. And I've
And
seen the
then
people getting hurt and I've seen the awful people.
yeah,
So like the breadcrumbs are all there.
yeah.
And that was how I came to believe in the conspiracy theories, because even though I know that Michelle Remembers was bullshit
Mm,
and that what was really going on there was a therapist abusing a patient
Yeah.
and effectively gaslighting her, and then the two of them trauma bonding over the trauma that was coming out of her hypnoregression.
Jesus. Yeah.
Like, like what Louis Pasteur did was a gross abuse of like professional ethics, and the fact that he became a celebrity and was on Oprah
Mm,
is something that we haven't really had an accounting of. And that's the flip side. It's the old there's two things can be true at once.
yeah.
Like you can have unethical psychiatric professionals who are using hypnoregressive therapies to implant traumatic memories and maybe not even knowing what the fuck they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh
you
yeah.
watched Failure, right?
Yes. Oh.
That UFO abduction thing.
Yeah, it's Hellier is amazing. I don't think I've ever seen a shamanic journey detailed so well in my life. These people are on a shamanic journey.
Yes.
And it's, man, we should do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go find Bigfoot, man.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. I'll pack a bag. Pick me up.
I drive out to Hocking Hills, Ohio twice a year. Why the fuck not?
You told me about that. That sounds awesome.
Oh, it
But
is. It is.
the the like the way that you can use hypnoregression
Yeah.
to implant memories far more effectively.
Oh yeah. Well, the you were mentioning the UFO when they brought that guy in
Yeah, that
and they
guy.
had the hypnotist walk him through an imaginary encounter and that
Came back
no.
believing it was real.
Well, and who's to say it so this is going to go off and I'm a little high. So this is
Cheers.
going to go off. Cheers. It's going to go off into a weird tangential. But what if by doing what he did, he was able to connect that guy to a quantum reality where that actually happened to him and he brought that memory back
And
with him.
yeah, that's a terrifying thought because the mind is a terrifying place.
Well,
It's
when
not
you
for
when
sissies.
the mind is scary because for many years we didn't really understand it. And I think we're really starting to understand that it's not so much the mind, it's the entire being. It's our soma, it's our body, it's the
Yeah.
fascia that covers our muscles, our organs, like everything has a part to play,
Oh yeah.
and we're taking in information all the time in the same way animals are. But animals don't have a job, they don't have to get groceries, they don't have to make sure the car works, they don't have to, I mean, there's a whole bunch of shit that we distract ourselves with instead of being in agrarian tribes that connect with each other.
Yeah. And
In
connect with nature. Like
Yeah.
we were so alienated from
Mm.
like it's weird because there's all the like we're talking about Satanism. Satanism is like at least in the modern sense, modern Satanism is a materialist philosophy on paper.
On
Uh,
paper.
but like we're so alienated from our material reality. This is why people just buy into the delusion that we live in a simulation. It's like you live in a simulation because you spend 83 hours a week on fucking Twitch playing playing inside of a simulation.
But
You're so
I think that's part of
simulation.
it. I mean, if we took time every day, like an hour, to just go be out in nature and
Yes.
like don't listen to anything, don't read anything, don't distract your mind, just be in stillness for an hour, just watching squirrels play and really
Yeah.
reconnect to that external, I mean, your life
Touching
will
grass
start
is
being more
not enough.
fulfilling.
Motherfuckers need to eat dirt. Like
Yeah.
they need to like get out there and like go bury yourself up to the nose in leaves.
Oh man.
Because touching grass won't do it for you. Like the grass
Yeah.
isn't nature enough. You need to go to the jungle.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and reconnect with your people,
oh
whoever
yeah.
that ends up being. Your people are the people who will sit with you and
Hmm.
hold space for you while
Right.
you suffer. They're not going to tell you how to recover. They're not going to tell you that you need to suck it up.
Right.
They're not going to tell you how you need to feel. They're going to
Right.
be present for
Yeah.
you.
Well, and
And
like I have my own like shamanic priestly interests.
yeah,
When
yeah.
I first got involved with the temple, one of the things that I was really interested in doing at that time, when I thought I had a much bigger social battery, was being a marrying minister.
Mm,
I wanted to be ordained to marry people,
I would like that too.
and I could have been doing it 10 years ago if I'd just gotten a Universal Life Church license.
Well, ULC does not hold up in Virginia. I'm a
I,
ULC minister. You have to actually go and there's like a whole bunch of like bullshit Christian hoops you have to jump through because this country is doing its best to maintain a hold of Christianity on power.
right, well, which is the similar problem in DC, which is why I thought that like joining the Satanic Temple
Ah,
would be a way to be affiliated with a legitimate religious organization, because I
sure.
thought they might be a religious organization, and I'm just going to own that I was naive.
We learn, man. We
Yeah, I
learn how we
learned.
learn.
I learned.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, coming from a Catholic background, the legalistic, like, I'm going to run background checks on these people.
Hmm.
Like, which, one of
Critical
the
thinking. There you
critical
go.
thinking.
Haha.
Yeah. They, those Jesuits did not steer me the wrong way. Uh,
Fucking love the Jesuits, man.
they're very smart people.
Wasn't
I should just say they're very smart men because they're only male Jesuits.
exactly. Wasn't when the Catholic Church was parlaying with the indigenous Americans, weren't the Jesuits involved with that?
Okay, so the Jesuits were actually outlawed in the middle 18th century
Okay, I'm thinking of something else
because
then.
Jesuits in Brazil sided with the indigenous people against the colonial authorities. And
Go Jesuits.
there was a period
Punk
of
rock.
time of about like 30, 40 years
Yeah.
where you had the Jesuits, who were a military order,
Mm,
providing tactical support. They were teaching the Indians how to use cannons and shit
mm.
to keep the colonial authorities from I think it's a Robert De Niro movie from the 80s called The Mission.
Oh God, is that Jesuits?
That's Jesuits. That's
It's been so
about
long
the
since I've seen
Jesuit
that. I gotta
insurrection
rewatch it.
against the Spanish authorities.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of Catholic history that like you kind of have to be in the club to learn about it, because anti-Catholicism is very popular.
Well, I mean, if priests raping kids wasn't very popular, I'm sure they'd be a little more popular.
I mean, like, people don't seem to mind when the Protestants do it.
Well, and people
I say
people
that
don't seem to mind
ironically.
when Baptists do it either. Like wasn't
Baptists,
there?
Baptists do it like it's in the Gospels.
Yeah, there are so many
Like
Christian
The
organizations in this
Catholics are, we
country.
have to keep this a secret.
Oh yeah,
The
I think
Baptists are like, well,
it just
God shouldn't have
happens.
made them children so sexy, now should he?
Exactly. That tall
If God
skirt.
didn't want you to do it, he wouldn't have put those ideas in those children's heads. It's
It's
like,
so
what?
gross. It's
Children
and then to force the child to apologize in front of
are,
the congregation for
oh,
saying that the pastor, yeah, I just
all the fucked up shit that the Catholic Church did, they didn't do that.
mm,
They did some very fucked up shit. I've
well,
watched papers.
I think it's equal because the Catholic Church and religious organizations in this country are also responsible for taking Indian children away and putting them in
Yeah.
parochial or in
Oh
schools
yeah.
where they were buried in potter's fields. God only knows what those kids went through.
Oh my God, I know. I know. Like I've got a lot of indigenous friends. I hear the stories.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
But
mean,
I mean, but they did it in
whiteness,
Ireland too, which
patriarchal
is
whiteness destroys everything it fucking touches.
yeah.
And it has to. You have religious orders or religious organizations that are like, we have to wreck what exists and put our shit on it. Like
Hmm.
whenever Muslims sack a city, they replace all the churches with mosques and vice versa. It's a very dominionist mentality, very
Yes,
dominator mentality. And if you're
Dominion is
going to,
a huge problem.
oh yeah, and if you're going to dominate the populace, you have to destroy their sacred cows. You have to destroy their culture and their way of life, and you have to homogenize them into a Christian way of life so that you get a generation that doesn't question Jesus, that doesn't question the fact that although Jesus hung out with hookers and homeless folks because they were in peril and he was trying to help them, he wasn't going, wow, must suck to be, a sex
Yeah.
worker. It's
He was
it's people just,
always in defiance of the authority.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and like criticizing the hypocrisy of the faithful and the greed of the priesthood and all of that. Yeah,
Like, didn't he go into a temple and flip tables
yeah, he flipped tables in the
in the
temple,
temple because they were borrowing and lending money or they
changing
were taking tithes?
it was changing money first. Well, it was the money changers who were, because people would come from all over
Hmm.
to with different currencies, and then they would
Ah.
want to buy animals for sacrifice.
Mm,
He was also very opposed to animal sacrifice,
yeah.
and
Oof.
so he was like, you guys, you ones who are making a profit off of changing money to do this abhorrent ritual, fuck off out of my father's temple. And that's when the priests were like, you got this.
Someone call Pontius Pilate. Fuck.
Yeah. Someone call the authorities.
Exactly.
I like the idea of depicting the Pharisees as like the first Karens.
It's
Hey,
fantastic.
Rome, there's some people having a barbecue over here.
Oh my God.
Need to shut this down. They're doing Passover wrong.
I'll get that video to you. It was,
I
it
want to
was
watch that video.
it was so well done. And I'll put a link under this when I
Yes.
upload the video to YouTube so that other people can check it out. Religion has been twisting and turning and shifting for thousands of years.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I like, my personal opinion is that it all went to shit with monotheism.
mm,
As soon as someone, not to, you know, stick a thumb in Zoroaster's eye, but as soon as this concept that there is only one and all the others are bad baddies, and you have to worship the one true God, and if you worship the fake gods, you're going to piss the one true God off, because let's face it, the God of the Bible, the MO is very pimpy.
he was a douche,
He was a
like
pimp. He
flooding
was a pimp.
people,
You
killing
cannot
babies.
say my name. You cannot look at my face. You have to give me all your money.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what pimps do.
Yep,
Like,
yep. Mm,
it's like the God of the Bible is a very problematic character, which is why Christianity is so problematic, because the like to just like drift over into Christology for a minute,
sure.
he was supposed to liberate us
Hmm.
from all of that,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know,
that's like, didn't he die to save us?
from all of that.
Yeah, but
And then
I
Paul
mean,
came along and was like, I feel like my role in Judaism is not nearly as profitable as it could be.
what do you expect from somebody who denounced the man he said he loved 3 times before the cock crowed?
That was the other point.
Oh, was it the other Paul?
It
Okay.
was the other. I'm talking about Paul Saul.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
who was one of the part of the class of people who put Christ to death,
Mm.
and then on the road to Damascus, he realized, hey, I can turn this into a hell of a racket. And he fell off his horse.
My God.
Oh, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So, like, this was how I came to, like, I don't really believe in conspiracy theories because most conspiracy theories, A, are not theories,
Mm-hmm.
they're wild ass hypotheses,
Mm-hmm.
or they're like David I don't know how to say his name, and
Ugh,
I'm
that
really
guy.
learning to pronounce it. That guy,
Yeah.
like,
I think it's Ike.
Ike, yeah, with his like his whole like, hey, how can we take the protocols of the elders of Zion and retrofit it to fit into the UFO age? like, like that whole thing, like that's programmed thought.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to get into like the government lied to us about who killed Kennedy.
Like, why not? They lied to us about World War II, how many senators were involved in almost turning this into an authoritarian dictatorship that was best buddies with Hitler.
They
We
lied to
came
us
real
about the
fucking
business
close.
plot. The
Yeah.
business I I wrote another short book called On the Q-ish Question
Ugh.
because I can't resist a terrible pun. And it's all about, I start with the murder of Meriwether Lewis.
Hmm.
He was murdered. I
Hmm.
I stand by that.
Okay.
Because I don't know how you would take a 14-inch long flintlock horse pistol and shoot yourself
I mean,
in the
even with
back
your,
of the head.
yeah, like that's, yeah.
I don't I like I can't figure that one. Like, so shoot
That's
yourself
some
in
rigging.
the head,
That's an engineering degree.
and he was gut shot. So he was shot twice with one pistol, once in the back of the head. That's like Kennedy shit. Meriwether Lewis was murdered. And so was John Peregrine, but that's neither here nor there. But like, so I trace it, Lewis, all the way up through like into the QAnon era,
Hmm.
showing how, the American Republic was founded by a conspiracy of capitalists against the king.
Oh yeah,
Like, that's
100%.
not a theory, that's a fact. A
Yeah.
group of capital owning gentlemen's,
Hmm.
some of whom owned capital in the form of people.
Quite a bit of capital in the form of people.
Some of them did, some of them didn't. Some of them
Yep.
owned capital in the form of land, and they really didn't like or respect the people who owned capital in the form of, and it was really hard to get their conspiracy on one page, except that none of them liked paying taxes to the king.
Yeah.
And many of the conspiracies can basically come down to people who want to avoid paying taxes,
Yep.
brainwashing. We were talking about a couple of weeks ago how, like, the Confederacy prior to the Civil War used Masonic lodges across the South to organize their conspiracy against the Republic.
Oof.
So, like, the whole Masonic conspiracy theory that we think of the Taxil hoax and how that was a hoax,
Hmm.
but that doesn't mean that and it wasn't the Masons. Like, it wasn't the Masons per se. Yankee Masons had all to do with it.
Hmm.
But because you had a secret society that had oaths of fraternal confidence and all of these, like, you had the infrastructure to do shit in secret.
Hmm.
So if you wanted to do a secret conspiracy, that was the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
And so like that, the bones of that concept of, the Masons run the country, it's like, man, kind of, yeah. And so when you start like connecting the dots,
Hmm.
to go all Pepe Silvio, to connect the dots between the factual conspiracies, the
Hmm.
non-theoretical, the proven conspiracies that have occurred.
Yeah.
Like, who murdered Meriwether Lewis? Well, Meriwether Lewis was the governor of, I want to say, the Missouri Territory, although I don't know if it was called the Missouri Territory at that time. But he was the governor of a big chunk of Louisiana that was his one of his jobs was to keep the peace between the natives and the settlers.
Hmm.
And he kept siding with the natives.
And that's
And he,
problematic for white men that want to keep their money.
yeah, well, white men who want to take their land.
Well, that too.
Like
I mean,
he
it's
was like, when white people would encroach on native land, he would side with the natives. And that pissed off a lot of landowners. And he was traveling down the Mississippi en route to Washington to make a direct face-to-face appeal to President Jefferson about what was happening.
yeah. You think
And
if he had gotten there, that Jefferson would have given a shit?
I honestly don't know, because I don't know if Jefferson would have seen him. Jefferson refused to see John Peregrine, his slave. Or no,
Mm,
not his slave, his freeman.
yeah.
That's the other thing that nobody liked about Meriwether Lewis, was his personal servant was a paid freeman.
It
He did not own slaves.
yeah,
He
and
was from the
that
slave owning class, but he found slavery incredibly objectionable.
would it is incredibly objectionable. And the thing is that when you have an atmosphere like that, everybody has to own slaves.
Right, right. Well,
Or
if you have
or
someone,
you're saying you're better than me. It's the same bullshit that
right.
that happens nowadays with if you don't do this, then you're not a real contributing member to society. You're not a real man. You don't.
So there's a couple of different theories about why he broke off the river and decided to travel up the Natchez Trace, which was an incredibly dangerous decision.
Mhm.
But he was also kind of a badass. Um, so the the best theory that people can come up with was, well, he was murdered, but he was just murdered by random brigands. But uh,
Like random brigands don't really execute you in the back of the head.
right. Well, and also there's a bigger question of, one of the theories is that he decided to go by land because he knew he was being tracked by assassins and he thought they were on the boat with him.
Okay.
And so he thought that he would have a better chance of, like, you're on a boat, you're on a boat.
Oh yeah, you're not. Yeah, it's
But if you're on land, you can try to get ahead of them
you have more
and you can
options.
try and move faster than them.
Yeah.
And so the theory is that he was assassinated by people who worked for the, manifest destinist. Corn hadn't been turned, the term hadn't been coined yet,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but de facto proto manifest destinists in the territories who were angry at him siding with the natives. They sent dudes after him.
Yeah.
And Lincoln assassination.
Hmm.
You know why Lincoln was assassinated.
Well, I mean, you look all over the world. How many revolutions is America responsible where we put a despotic leader in to replace somebody that was actually helping the people because we wanted cheap bananas
I
or
read
we
War is
wanted,
a Racket.
huh?
I read War is a Racket.
Yeah,
Like Smedley
yeah,
Butler.
yeah. But I mean that is the. I think one of the
It's
reasons.
weird how Smedley Butler developed a fast-acting stomach cancer within just years of publishing that book. And beginning his public speaking tour about that topic.
What if I'm going to say something that's going to sound really weird?
Yeah.
What if there is a concerted effort, and this is my fun conspiracy theory? What if there's a concerted effort by everybody in the billionaire racket to keep us distracted so that they can keep extracting our labor for free?
Dude, that's not a theory.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's
what if, but the
that's
further,
just Marxism.
well, that, yes, but let's put a little stank on it.
Yeah.
Um, Human beings, there is more to what a human being is than we are doing right now. Folks like John Brown and Harriet Tubman proved that, that there are the rare people who step forward to help the rest of humanity. Uh, and there have been authoritarian dictatorships that have been doing their best to destroy people like that whenever they crop up
Yeah.
because they're dangerous, they're infidels.
Right.
So anybody who speaks against the public order in a way that other people start going, "Oh shit, we're being exploited." Those people have to be killed
Oh yeah.
because that's a dangerous message and it can't spread, because if it does spread, then human beings will push for universal basic income and you'll stop having billionaires, and billionaires can't have that.
Yeah. Well, you notice that like once he translated his wealth into uh some real world power, Elon Musk really stopped talking about UBI.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh,
was
he
happy.
stopped
He was
talking about, he
happy.
would, didn't he say he would cure world hunger?
Yeah, he said he would cure world hunger until he got the bill.
Yep.
He said, prepare me a comprehensive explanation of how you do it. They had one ready.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, oh
That's
shit.
hard.
That's not
It's
that
gonna take
hard.
effort. Oh,
Mm. It's gonna take giving up some of my cheese.
can I just like shine light on my balls instead?
So here's the thing about old Elon,
Hmm.
who, for what it's worth remembering, is from South Africa.
And his family are literal Nazis.
Yes, there's that too. But
Yeah.
South Africa is important here because I was talking about the order that likes angles.
Yeah.
And um, South Africa is one of their hubs.
Okay.
There's a lot of Nexions in South Africa.
Mm,
Um, and I don't like knowing this stuff. I wish I didn't know this stuff, but I know it, so I have to tell people about it.
yeah.
Um, so that you can suffer with me.
Yeah.
Elon, over the years, since he's become a like celebrity figure, has, in ways that he imagines are subtle because he's not very bright.
No, he really isn't.
Um, there's a lot of the shibboleths of that kind of Satanism seeded throughout how he presents himself.
Well, I mean, if you look at the people that he listens to, like fucking Curtis Yarvin and
Fucking Curtis
just
Yarv.
the dark enlightenment
Fucking
shit. There's so much crap out there.
Dark Enlightenment is a shibboleth of that
Is it? Okay.
philosophy. Like
Yeah.
like just the phrase dark enlightenment is
Right.
very Leonese. Um, but you ever seen Elon's wedding tux from when he married Grimes?
I probably have.
It's basically a photo reversed Catholic priest outfit.
That's so creepy. What the fuck?
All white with a little black dog collar. Not a BDSM dog collar
Yeah.
like a Roman priest's
Yeah.
collar.
Yeah.
Um, I saw that and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know what that is. You're not fooling anybody. And of course, I brought that up to a couple other Satanists, and they're like, "Shit, Elon's not cool enough to be a Satanist." It's like,
Oh
oh
my God.
God, dude, are you 14?
I'm gonna have to reach out to knitting cult lady and see if she has a bead on the people who like angles,
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, like a lot of us, she probably isn't too horny to talk about them.
Oh, she gives no fucks.
I know she gives no fucks, but she has kids,
Yeah, true. True,
and
but she's also an army intelligence officer and she can handle
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, like she might not want them to know that they're on her radar. But I'm sure if you ask her privately, she'd tell you.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't like to talk about them publicly because I have a very low profile. So I don't worry about it, but I don't want to get on their radar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for all I know, I already am, and that's why my career is going.
Well, speaking truth to power is what we need to do.
Well, yeah, it's
Whether
there
we're
should
scared
be
of it
no
or not,
money in it.
especially with everything that's happening,
Yeah,
like there should be no more missing stairs. No more fucking missing stairs. People need to start policing. I hate that term.
I
People need to start
regulate.
mediating in their community to make sure that they take care of situations where people with high empathy are being abused.
Yeah. Well, and like just the whole missing stairs concept, like I was introduced to that one uh through some of the people I was networking with doing the due diligence thing in
Yeah,
within TST and the our ethics czar because we were the only group that had an ethics czar.
yeah,
And whether or not they were good at what they did is a totally different conversation.
yeah,
But we had one,
yeah.
and our ethics czar introduced me to the missing stairs thing. And I was like, oh wow, like there's more than one step missing from this particular
Oh
staircase.
yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
like this is Victorian death stairs level missing stairs.
Oh yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
but yeah, I do think that there is like a grain of truth to the idea that people in the billionaire class, like, here's the thing, you can't be doing like Quaker style Christianity and become a billionaire.
Yeah, it doesn't work. The
It doesn't
values
work.
don't mesh.
The values don't mesh. Exactly. The ethics don't overlap.
Hmm.
But like
Prosperity gospel, baby. Yeah.
well, prosperity gospel,
Yep.
like here's the thing, prosperity gospel, as I've said, I think it's blasphemous. I think it's a heresy.
It is.
I think that it is, if I was the antichrist
Mm-hmm.
and the good Lord put me on earth to do antichrist shit, I wouldn't be hanging out with Satanists trying to talk girls into taking their tops off.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be running a prosperity gospel church
Oh
and
yeah.
trying to talk girls into taking their shirts off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you know that's where the money is. That's where the fun is.
Well,
Like
that one white lady
that
has
one
made
white lady. That really narrows it
over a
down.
half a million fucking dollars.
Oh, that bitch,
Yeah. Like, oh,
Shiloh Hendricks.
racism pays good.
Oh, I.
And it's disgusting and it needs to fucking stop.
It makes me mad. I mean, like I hate to think how much money I've missed out on because I value being an ethical person.
Yeah.
It's
I
stupid.
don't feel like I've missed out on anything by being an ethical person. I tend to just
You
do
have a house, babe. Like, like you
okay.
have you have some
That is
material
you
possessions to show for it. Like,
you have a very salient point there. I am very uh privileged.
yeah. I mean, you've
I have a lot of privilege.
yeah. And I had a lot more privilege before I got divorced,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful to be out of what was definitely an abusive relationship.
Yeah. I'm
And
glad you're out as well.
yeah, and thank you. And at the same time, like giving up the like romantic delusions that made the abuse tolerable
Yeah.
was one thing. Giving up the privilege that came of being in a relatively stable relationship, that was fucking painful,
Mm.
you know?
It
Like,
having that as a foundation, I am immensely grateful for my partner. Um, they are the reason that I can do this. They're the reason that I can um, kind of be a teacher at this point in my life.
right.
And if I did not have that, I would be in a bad way.
It-
Um,
it's a
you know,
struggle. Like,
yeah,
there's a struggle. Like,
you know,
it is like it's one of the flaws in the whole like Randian Church of Satan LaVeyan thing that like the the like wholesale rejection of the no man is an island.
yeah,
Like that's a cliched aphorism because it's true.
yeah,
Cliche means small truth. That's what it is. It's
yeah.
true. No man is an island. We are all part of this huge symbiotic organism.
Oh yeah. I honestly, and I don't have the answers. Shit, I'm still living. I'm still in this
Mhm.
fucking meat suit. So this is all supposition. Um, but I honestly believe that we are facets of the universe exploring itself. And if I look at the evolution of the where we've gone from the satanic panic in the 80s to DEI now, the name keeps changing, but it's the same thing. It's we don't want there to be um, any educational facilities that will give non-whites the same opportunities and the same access to resources
Yeah,
because then we poleaxe ourselves because then we actually have to make an effort. We have to try.
yeah.
Um, it's the same reason that black athletes are shit on by the United States because white athletes can't keep up. It's called a fucking sport. Compete, you
What
know?
the I wish I could source this, but my memory's blanking. Someone said, probably on the majority report, someone said the reason we have a gender divide in athletics, that we have men's sports and women's sports,
Hmm.
is because women kept winning.
Oh yeah, that is
When
100% the case. Knitting cult lady said as much about
that's where I
women
got it. That she
finally.
was the one. She was the one. Yeah,
Yeah, about
yeah.
about women finally. All of the metrics are now the same in the military for men and women. And
Right.
women are just going to start blowing men out of the water because any woman or any minority has to try 5 to 10 times harder for the same recognition that a mediocre white asshole who fails upwards gets,
I danced all the same steps backwards and in heels.
right?
Ginger Rogers.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Like it's absolutely true. And it's like, I mean, I really hate Robin DiAngelo. I think she's a grifter.
Okay.
Um, but the
Context?
but the concept of white fragility,
No, context for Robin DiAngelo.
Robin DiAngelo, the author of White Fragility.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the phrase is valid. Like that is a thing. There is a fragility in white people, particularly white supremacists, like the people who are most adjacent to white supremacism, come to it from a place of deep fragility.
There was a gentleman who is working with men to try to teach them about implicit bias.
Yeah.
And the phrase that he used was catastrophic fragility.
Catastrophic fragility.
And that feels very apropos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the the fragility of white people is, you know, is like the source of so much of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can kind of just pick up on it by paying attention, like the the white people who are most invested in white supremacy are not the like Nordic supermen.
Yeah.
Like I never see guys who look like me. It's all these like short little motherfuckers with like no chin and a weirdly shaped skull who are so mad at black people stealing opportunities from them. I'm like,
Well, it's because they're told that they are physically deficient when they come to the right wing side. And then the right wing says, here's all the ways that you're fucked and it's women's fault, or it's black people, or it's brown people.
right,
The reason you aren't as physically appealing as some of the other cucks out there who get women
right.
um is
The cops who get women.
it's a
I,
cruelty, and therefore you should visit the same cruelty in return. And
yeah,
that's really dangerous rhetoric.
and it's very pity party.
Oh, it
It's
is. It
very,
is.
it's very,
And
it,
why the
it
fuck does the way you appear matter? This is an encounter suit. Who gives a shit if my tits sag? Who gives a shit
there's
if
that.
who gives a shit if I'm getting old? Who gives a shit if someone's penis isn't the size that somebody else thinks it should be?
There's always going to be a bigger dick.
Well, and there's always going to be a different body type.
Right,
Human beings are not all built the same, but the uniformity principle is what puts people in insane asylums for the rest of their life. The
right.
fucking ugly laws back in the Victorian era, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the sort of thing. Is like it's ironic that I sort of like go to like weak chin, weird skull, which is very phrenological, and phrenology isn't real. I mean, it's real,
Yeah,
but it's not science.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, I do believe in aesthetics. I think that there is a impulse toward pretty shiny.
Well, you
And
are you are trying to be social in
right,
a culture, and
right.
there are only so many approved ways of being appreciated and welcomed by the culture.
Hmm.
And if you choose to walk outside of that, you have less social options. You have less friend options. You have less work options.
Yeah. I mean it and it's a thing that it's a function that like I've noticed over the years that um like I watch how people interact. I was a bouncer for a number of years,
Yeah.
and it could be a very stressful, unpleasant job. I wouldn't want to go back to it. But as someone who enjoys people watching, it was fascinating.
Oh, I can
Like,
imagine.
like I used to do the door at Entre Nous
Mhm.
and seeing who left with whom and who went home alone and all of that kind of stuff. Very like you could run some really interesting sociological experiments with that.
The thing that the thing that really gets me is how many women tell these chodes who think Andrew Tate is God that he's wrong. How many women know he's wrong and men are like, "No, I think I'm right." I remember having a sexual encounter with a guy where he wasn't hitting it right, and I said, this isn't working for me, and his response was, "I know what I'm doing."
No, you don't.
No, you fucking don't.
No, you don't.
Learn,
She
learn,
she
be
just
better.
told you you're not doing it right, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm bisexual,
Hmm. Same.
So like I've got the queer satanic bi
Fuck
anarchist
yeah.
bi anti-fascist shirt on today.
I love that shirt.
And like as a bi guy,
Hmm.
I I I have a much I have a much deeper experience of like what dating men is like
Oof. Yeah.
than straight men could possibly have. I've been in physically abusive relationships with men,
Yeah.
and even like brainwashed myself into going, we're boys, we can punch the shit out of each other, that's fine.
Yeah. That's our tradition. Oh, like,
It's just manly shit, like we don't need to talk.
why would you like? I don't. Why would you damage yourself for fun? Like, I don't get it.
I don't know either. I was young, I was horny.
Well,
uh
25 years ago, I wanted to, cage fight. So, I mean, I can't
yeah,
really.
exactly. Didn't you join the Marines at one point?
I did in
Yeah,
1989. Yeah.
yeah. Like, the self-destructive impulse is just part of being human.
Yeah.
But so like I've like whenever I've had to like whenever I've been in conversations with men who were basically like looking for the same thing that people turn to Andrew Tate for from me,
Yeah.
um, I would say like, dude, I know you say you're straight, but like go to a gay bar. Like put yourself out there. Look like find out because first of all, you know nothing about rejection
Ooh,
until you have been rejected by a bar full of gay men.
ooh, honey. Shit.
Savage.
That's real. That's real.
Savage. I mean, you think that the dudes who like beg women for pics and then turn around and tell them they're ugly or mean?
Yeah,
Child's play.
I know. I know.
Child's play.
Yeah, that's like riding the horsey at the school playground.
Right. Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing.
Well,
Like
you get an entire demographic that
yeah.
has been abused and shit on and demonized for their entire lives.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah, you
being
you
mean
develop
is
some
your move.
savage coping skills.
Yeah, being mean is your armor.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm really mean. I like the things I've said to guys,
Mm,
turning them like and and knowing internally that like the boot will always be on the other foot.
yep.
One day you're gonna be the one, you know,
Yeah.
who's found wanting. And, you know, like it doesn't really matter what your BMI is or your waist size
Yep.
or your weight.
Or your
Someone's
eye
gonna look at you.
color or your hair.
Someone's gonna look at you and go, I don't date fat dudes. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But other people will look at
I'm
their
5 pounds overweight and I feel
yeah.
like Jabba the Hutt. Like, what
Oh
the fuck?
yeah. But I mean but then you get people who you are exactly what they want in a partner.
Oh
And
yeah.
when you find that it's immense. But
Okay.
I think we're really scared to open up to it. There's a lot of curiosity that we shut off.
Yeah.
It's that whole we're so big on, do you think he likes me? I'm like, fucking ask.
Yeah.
Ask. That way
Yeah.
you know, instead of winding yourself up and then getting all angry, because that's what guys who kill women do.
I have a theory about this that I think like first of all, there's a lot of like just very brittle, like fragile is an inadequate word, brittle self-esteem.
Oh yeah. Well, but I
And
mean that's all by design. It's all by
and
design.
and and I really believe that like when you have that like incredibly weak self-esteem, that's rooted in like real like contempt for the self,
Yeah.
um, you're not going to respect someone who loves you.
Yeah.
And
Because
if you
that's not
find
how you were taught.
yeah, well, and if you find someone who loves you, you're gonna cling to them like a fucking life raft.
Oh yeah. And if they leave, you're gonna freak the fuck out. You're gonna
And
fall apart.
hurting them is a way to externalize the suicidal impulse that comes from rejection when you're that insecure.
Oof. Yeah.
Like it's a and and thinking about like men who kill women as externalizing their suicidal impulses.
Well, that person made me feel awesome, awful about myself.
That
So
person,
instead of,
that person held a mirror up
yeah,
to to the face that I don't, that I can't look at.
yeah. And
You
so
know?
I'm going to stop them from being able to do that to me again or anybody else.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's tragic and it's sad. And at the same time, they're monsters. And, we probably need to cull the herd.
Well, I think that between all of the air disasters and all of the gainers being taken away from the EPA and from Health and Human Services and from our food supply, a lot of people are going to not be here,
Oh yeah, we're gonna
you know?
lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the right ones.
Well, and I don't want to say the right ones though. I mean, it
Well, if you
I hear
say
what you're saying though. I mean,
predators,
it's
like
the people that are
predatory
causing,
people.
yeah, the predatory people that are causing this are society has to figure out a way to have a conversation about people who we deeply love who are deeply fucking flawed, like Bill Cosby, like Neil Gaiman, you know.
I
I
said
mean,
I said something the other day, like it's a couple months ago now, but I said to a friend a while back, what if Bill Cosby had died and Bernie Mac was still with us?
oh yeah.
How different would the world be now if we still had Bernie and Bill Cosby was the one? If Bill Cosby had died before we found out that
Yeah.
he was a rapist,
Yeah.
and we still had Bernie Mac being Bernie Mac,
Yeah.
like how much progress could like our whole society have made with just that little change?
Well, so another thought exercise.
Hmm.
What if we started teaching consent to children?
Oh yeah.
What if we
Uh,
started teaching consent and self-esteem to children?
the
And that,
evangelical church would fall apart overnight.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you've got Republicans that stand in the way of bills that would quash child marriage. And the only reason that you have child marriage is because you have grown ass men who like raping children and then
Mhm.
marrying them because that way there are more Christian babies for God's army, essentially.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It is nuts. It's depraved and like it's not concentrated in any one religion
Yeah, it's I
because
mean
it's
there are many religions that do the same thing. I mean,
oh my God, like,
you've got pockets of religion that are like women can't touch men. You can't be in the same room with a man. There are, because men can't control themselves.
as long as we're having taboo conversations, like the sexual abuse in Orthodox Jewish communities is nightmarish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Anything that tells you that there is a central source for all knowledge, man, be real fucking critical,
skeptical, like and
you know.
and but also just like the something that I've noticed is that like since Tumblr got balderized and
Mm,
like the and like because I used to be a great source of free porn.
yeah, yeah.
And you could really customize it.
No, nice.
Yeah, like so you could really like hone in on your kinks and your things and not have to see the rest of the trash. And but since all of that went away, um I've been looking at Pornhub more
Yeah.
than I ever did before because I used to just hate Pornhub because of the ads and the thing that I see constantly
Hmm.
is like absolute obsession with incest.
Oh yeah, incest has always back when I was reading erotica,
Yeah,
literotica,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Um
Big fan.
you looked for the most popular stories and they were all incest.
Yeah, well,
And
I
it's
mean,
just like that
And it's
there's
not new. NES Nin, lots of incest in Nin.
yeah.
I mean, and it's a
Yep.
taboo. Porn and erotica are dealing in fantasies, and fantasies about taboo things are part of the. And at the same time, like tying it back to conspiracy theories, because we do
Yeah,
have an
yeah.
audience to think about.
Yeah.
the the like I can't remember the name of the company that owns Pornhub, but it is it is a it is a it is a company. It is a business. They are marketing, but
Oh
they're
God, yeah. Porn is big. Oh, Axios.
Axios now. It used to
I
be
think.
Byte Dance, I think, was what it was called, or Byte something.
Well,
But
ByteDance was TikTok.
Byte Dance with
Oh,
TikTok, right?
yeah.
Um,
Earth,
but
Fabian.
all these companies have stupid fucking names, and it makes it so hard to keep them straight. But
It really does.
the, the thing is that kind of like sugar in your drinks, like or like chemicals in cigarettes,
Hmm.
there's like it's not a demand-based market. There's a demand for like tits and ass and cocks.
Hmm. Well, there's also demand for bestiality and murder and rape. I mean, there wasn't there that
Oh yeah.
telegraph 70,000 men
Oh
all over the
yeah.
world were talking about how to drug and rape their wives while we were talking,
Yeah.
while Giselle Pellico was on trial, or yeah,
There's oh yeah, there's sickness out there, but
yeah, yeah.
like like
But there's also honest, good,
yeah,
connected
those
erotica
things
too.
don't percolate the way that some things do. And I
Mm.
genuinely believe that there's a like the fetishization of incest. Part of that I think is just the coming from the Brady bunching of America,
Oh yeah.
that like more people than ever before are in these like blended families
Hmm.
where you have people who are not biologically related to each other
And they have easy access to the opposite sex or
forming
the same
forming
sex to,
family units. And so the imperative reason for the taboo isn't as important because you're not related to each other.
yeah. Yeah.
But then there's also a degradation of healthy family relationships
Hmm.
by this proliferation of abusive sexual relationships within the family unit.
Yeah.
And you have a big company like Pornhub that's normalizing that.
Oh yeah.
And on one hand, you see the right wingers, the conservatives, I got to do something about all of this immoral shit.
And every single one of them is watching porn with trans people.
Oh yeah, porn with trans incest.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Like,
it's
interracial trans incest.
yeah,
Number one search term
yeah.
is bananas. But like I I really do believe that in the past there was a bit more morality to the moral crusades, that there were people who were genuinely horrified by licentiousness and taboo behavior. And
Yeah.
were like when I was in Catholic school, they really worked on explaining how like what we would generally call sexual abuse is wrong because it's dehumanizing to both parties. You're reducing a human being to an object,
Yes.
and you're reducing yourself to an object.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that sexual objectification isn't fun.
Like if it's consensual, it's delightful.
Consensually, but
Yeah.
like, but you also have to have that capacity for consent.
Yeah.
You have to know that's what you're doing,
Yeah.
in order to do it consentingly. And there's a real, uh, there's a real animosity toward consent culture.
Oh yeah.
And I get it to some degree, in
I,
that, like, no one wants to be told they're a rapist.
well, the
No one
thing
wants to be
is,
told that their first time that they carry around in a little golden box in their heart as like this wonderful thing
mhm.
was actually the worst night of another person's life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, human beings will do a lot to keep from being called a bad person.
Oh
Like
my God, people are
whether it's
so
being a racist or a sexist or a rapist or,
this is one of those things. This is one of the things that I lean into philosophically with Satanism,
yeah.
is the idea of like, hey, we're all bad people. Like, get over yourself. Like, we're all bad people.
We all mess up, but that's how we
We're
learn.
people, we're human. We have flaws and
Yeah.
weaknesses, and we will do selfish shit, and we will ignore red flags.
Yes.
You
I
know,
would
you can strive to be a better person than you were yesterday,
yeah.
and over time, you might actually Mr. Rogers your way up to being a decent human being. But even Mr. Rogers, in like private interviews that we've gotten to see since he died, was like, I'm not a good person. I try my best, but
Yeah.
none of us are,
Yeah.
like the but like I think it really does come out of that particular kind of Protestant Christianity where like the um it sort of loops back to what I was saying earlier about Robin DiAngelo, that like when you as soon as you take being racist, being a bigot, having racial prejudice that motivates your attitudes toward other people,
Yeah.
and turn it into a moral failing.
Mm.
It's not just bad socialization.
Mhm.
It's like pedophile level dirt bad person.
Yeah.
You close the door to getting through to the people who have that problem.
Yeah, you do. And that's
And you,
and that's something we need to that's something we need to acknowledge,
yeah,
and it's something we need to confront and address.
yeah. And going back to the DEI thing, Ellie Mistal said something wonderful months ago on the Majority Report that just stuck with me, because he said DEI is white folks' response to the Civil Rights Act.
100%.
It's a CYA
Yep.
so that you don't actually have to enforce the Civil Rights Act. You don't have to
Yep.
really deal with, like, you can make the problem Bob
Yep.
in accounts payable.
Yeah. And there are a
Who,
lot of Democrats who ran with that shit too,
oh,
which
like
is
Democrats
really
particularly, like Democrats don't want to ever talk about how that shit is actually really alienating, particularly to the working class. Could
yeah.
you imagine, like, people are like, Bob in HR is like, he made a joke and it made me really uncomfortable. And they're like, oh, Bob's a racist, and we're gonna send him to race training and racial sensitivity training. And if he doesn't come out of that better, we might just have to let him go. And
But
never mind.
that doesn't
Never mind
actually
that Bob has 9 black grandchildren,
mm,
you know, and yeah, he makes a lot of really inappropriate jokes because he's like kind of lost self-awareness around his whiteness.
but we
But
need to be able to
meanwhile, there's no one in the corporate suite
yeah.
who is lighter than a paper bag.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But they're going to pick on Bob
Well,
because
it's
they've
like
heard,
picking on Puff Daddy. Not that Sean Combs is not culpable, and Bill
right.
Cosby, and laying the sin of every single man or person who's ever thrown parties where really horrible things happen to people at the feet of black men.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
black men are not the only people doing this.
well, let's be very like it goes like think about it. We're very happy to assign that to Puffy, black
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein, Jew.
Well, and
Like,
they're also talking about a connection between Sean Combs and Epstein.
and there's a connection between those dudes.
Yeah.
But the thing is that you can take these people who like Epstein was not born rich. Like
No.
he grew up a poor Jewish guy from Coney Island.
He got paid money to do what he wanted to do, to film it,
Yeah,
and then to provide it to the
he
highest
was
possible bidder.
creating compromat
Oh yeah.
for
100%. It was a compromat operation from
for
the
the
get-go.
man, for
Oh
the
yeah.
man.
Oh yeah.
You know, and but it's very easy to go, little Jewish guy, big black dude. It's them and their perverted pathologies,
Because they don't have a purity of whiteness. Fucking
and
bullshit.
and they were corrupting all of these good white folks,
Gah.
as opposed to there's a whole bunch of good white folks who are not good.
Hmm. Very
Like,
fine people.
very fine people. Like
Yeah.
it's remarkable how Epstein had such an easy time getting all of these fine men to go along with these opportunities, which if they were fine men, they would be uncomfortable with these opportunities.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, you look at things like the royal family protecting Prince Andrew when they knew good and goddamn well what he's been doing the entire time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that was that was less about protecting the Duke of York, or it was less about protecting Andrew
Oh,
than it
and
was about
protecting the
protecting the
institution.
Duke of York,
Yeah.
protecting the family,
Yep. Protecting the institution of the monarchy. Yeah.
right? And that was a poor choice.
A very poor choice, but it's certainly not the worst choice that the royal family has done. What about the Nazi that was
Yeah.
like,
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
we
Queen Elizabeth's uncle?
oh yes, what was it? Edward the third. Gonna fuck it up. Um,
It's all
you
good.
know, I've got dyscalculia. I struggle with numbers, but Wallace Simpson was a Nazi spy. They didn't give a shit that she was an American. They didn't give a shit that the king wanted to marry a divorced lady. They gave a shit that he wanted to marry a Nazi spy. And to the
With
credit,
love.
yeah, but like that's the thing is like I can remember I was watching Seinfeld the other day. Well, not the other day. I haven't watched Seinfeld in a really long time because Jerry Seinfeld's kind of a gross guy. But I was watching Seinfeld a while back, and Elaine goes on this whole thing about how romantic, Edward and Will and Wallace Simpson were, stepping down from the throne to marry for love, and it's like,
You.
like, dude
We
fell
have
into a honey pot.
Yeah, we are at 1 hour and 57 minutes.
Oh, that's a long time.
That is a long time. And I have to go pick up my car, but we got to do this again. This has been
I would love
really
to do this again. We
enjoyable.
got to talk about Bigfoot next time.
Bigfoot, fuck yeah. Okay, next episode is weird
It's
cryptid
cryptids.
shit.
How the Satanic Temple taught me to believe in cryptids.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
this has
Oh
been really fun. I'm
man.
glad we did it. Thank you for
Yeah.
having.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
It was
It's
fun.
been
I really
really
should.
lovely. Been
Yeah.
really lovely. I'm going to
Thanks.
go ahead and sign off. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether you're tuning in now while it's happening live or you happen to stumble across us. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Awesome.